And so you start realizing that a lot of people who we have deemed successful, who've achieved, professionally, reasonable modicums of success, they have things on the side that I'm fairly certain now make them better at what they do primarily. Does that make sense?
It does, because that's part of why I go to my improv class.
I know.
And I'm not, but the thing about that and what you just said,
And it's made you so much funnier too.
I'm not good at it.
That's not true.
No, last class, we were paired up with a buddy, and then we had to be an inanimate object, and they told us what we were, and guess what I was? We were 2 sausage links.
Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Zarniak, and this is Things No One Tells You. This is a podcast about the behind the scenes moments that shape who we are, those things that also are really relatable and really connect us. So each week I'm going to talk with newsmakers, trailblazers in the worlds of sports, entertainment, all things, but also everyday folks, people who are talking about the real stuff that no one tends to share. Follow me at Lindsay Zarniak and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review Things No One Tells You wherever you like to listen. Hey guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Things No One Tells You, or T-Naughty, as we like to call it. I'm Lindsay, and this episode is one I was really excited about because this actually might be the toughest guest yet in terms of scheduling and figuring out when we could get him to do it. I did not have to go far, but I did have to work through a lot of scheduling, snafus, barriers, but we're here. This is so exciting. My guest today is my husband, Craig Melvin. And well, one thing, I love working with him because that's actually how we met. And I'll go more into that in a moment. But I have realized I think asking people about the thing no one tells you is it's kind of like a fun icebreaker, but also in some circumstances, like when it's with your significant other, it can actually be really enlightening and I think insightful information for you to have. And so that's what I'm really excited to have you guys here in this episode. We're going to cover a lot of different things, including, work life, accomplishing your dreams, hobbies, etc. But a little context. So we met at the TV station where we were both working in Washington, D.C., the NBC affiliate, WRC. And gosh, we have such great memories of being there. I had been working there a few years doing sports, and I was on assignment in Beijing, China, and I was doing the Olympics. I came back. I did not know my station had hired a new news anchor. And I came in on a Saturday to work the Saturday show, and I run upstairs, slide into the set, and this new guy turns around and is like, "Oh, look who's back from China." And I was just like, "Who is this person?" And I remember because I was like, he's super like energetic and gregarious, and I've never met him or seen him before in my life. And anyway, it's like such a fond memory. We actually have it on video. Because who would have thought that that person would end up being my husband? And it was wild because in the years that followed, it was like, for a while we really had to keep it under wraps. And then it was just really a special time once people knew that in our station that we were together, we were engaged, yada, yada. That's a story for another day. But I will say that our journey from that point and then leaving DC, moving together where both of us took on new jobs, it has been such a ride. It has been, I would say, exciting, challenging, eye-opening, certainly satisfying, rewarding, humbling, all the things you can think of. And we're just still learning. And I think what I'm so excited for you to hear is what he believes and what he's realized since taking on his new role as the co-host of the Today Show. That happened in January. And it was a magical moment for our family. It was amazing. It's amazing for him. But it also has it's been a lot of new normals and a lot of adjusting to new routine. And he has honestly, I think, handled it beautifully. And we are still absolutely learning. And now for a little levity, because we're talking about TV, my favorite TV show from when I was younger and one that I still watch. What did Tom get when he locked Jerry in the freezer? Mice cubes. Come on, it's good. It's really good. Anyway, Melvin enjoys that show too. But I asked him to join me besides his new job, talking about his new hobby, which is making candles. And he has dug into that with reckless abandon. You will hear why and how. Anyway, I've spent time with him at his office, and so now I'm excited to have him come to mine.
I am super excited because I'm waiting for Melvin to come in to my little office here, which, by the way, he hasn't seen this. So I'm very, very excited. He loves plants. So I've positioned this succulent just as a nod to him. We'll see if he points it out. I think he will. It looks a little unhealthy. We're going to water that guy. My husband refused to tell me when I pushed him what the thing no one tells you that he wanted to talk about is. So I really have zero direction which direction this is going to go. I can't wait to hear what he says and just react authentically in real time. But I also am very excited to introduce you guys, if you're not aware, to his candle making hobby. This is also why I have this nod to him here in the middle of the table. This is a candle he poured. It smells very good. It's actually like, it might be a little tobacco-ish. I'm not sure. Bourbon-y, I don't know. But anyway, when he comes in, we're going to talk about this side hobby. And also we are going to talk about what it's like taking over a new job that is like very much in the public eye. So I'm curious how much he will go into that. In the meantime, he also doesn't know that it happens to be, by the blessing of the timing gods, that today is the official launch of our trailer for The Things No One Tells You. So I'm going to surprise him with a little bubbly to celebrate. So there's that. And now we wait. All right, welcome. But where are you? Look, no, I'm super excited because this is your first time in this space.
You mean in my house?
Yes, in this amazing corner, but also
This is nice. I said that to you. This is
what you maybe don't know is, because of timing here. Now, this, we're recording this a little bit before folks will hear it, but
why
it's
not
actually
get a child pool?
it's the official launch day. The trailer is up for Things No One Tells You.
For the podcast?
So
I'm not the first guest.
Well, no, but you are doing your recording on the day that the trailer
this
is
is
up,
exciting.
and this becomes a little bit more,
Well, I haven't seen the trailer. Where is it?
Yeah, well, I'll show you. Cheers.
Cheers! Congratulations.
And thanks for being willing to be a guest.
Well, I didn't really have much of a choice, but
You always have a choice.
well, do I?
No.
I'm a hostile witness. No,
The
I'm excited.
succulent is a nod to you.
The succulent and the candle.
Yeah, and the candle.
Thank you, sweetie. That's very nice.
So I was saying that in my mind, I was thinking, okay, things no one tells you, that maybe your focus, you would want it to be like things no one tells you about the importance of a side hobby. But I don't even want to call it a hobby, because now you are full-fledged into this candle making business thing. But what I was also sharing with the folks watching, listening, is that I have no idea what your thing no one tells you is that you wanted to talk about. The thing on your journey that that you have found that you think has value in helping others. What's the thing that no one tells you?
That's a good question. You're good at this.
Is it work related? Is it not? Is it?
I think it's both. I think it's professional. I think it's personal. I think first of all, I think there are a lot of things that no one tells you. I think professionally, for me, the thing that no one told me was just how much work outside of the show would be involved. Like people watch the show, and it's like, oh, you're interviewing an actor or a musician or a politician, and so you can prepare for that sort of thing. It's the stuff after the show that no one tells you about, the luncheons or the round tables, or I said to someone recently, I said, sometimes it's like being mayor of a small city. And there's a lot of that you don't really understand until you get the job. But I also think that's because there's so few people that do it, and there are not a lot of people who've done it. And oftentimes the people who have, they don't leave under the best of circumstances. So there's not a willingness to necessarily pass along that information. So there's a lot of stuff that comes with the job that I didn't fully appreciate that no one told me. And it's all consuming. It's watching the series that you're interviewing this actress, or watching the movie where you're interviewing the actor.
Yeah.
So that's the professional part that no one tells you.
So, and I want to hear about the other part, but what's so
This is
interesting?
nice champagne. What are
Really,
we
it's
drinking?
actually Prosecco because I wasn't.
Oh, we're going cheap on the podcast.
Well, we're not, but I didn't want to use like one of it's a Prosecco.
Oh.
So I tell people that my perspective on, and for those that might not know, Melvin took over as co-host of the Today Show in January. So I assume that a lot of people that follow me in this space do know that, but some people I'm sure don't, maybe. So he and Savannah Guthrie are co-hosts of the Today Show. And when that's also always been like a lifelong dream, right? Like that's the dream for you. When you
You know, it's funny. I don't know if it was a lifelong dream.
really, yeah,
No, I think it was one of those things that it became more of a dream the closer I got to it. But when I got into the business, like, I mean, you get in the, especially back in the day, and in the early aughts, when got into the business, yeah, you dreamed about maybe hosting the Today Show, but it wasn't it wasn't a tangible dream. Like, you just thought, oh wow, that would be awesome if it happened. And then it's like, okay, well, you're doing the daily grind, you're covering car wrecks and house fires and robberies and weird political scandals. And then you sort of resign yourself to the fact that, okay, if I can just get to a bigger market, that'd be great. I can just get to it. And so when I got to DC, it's like, oh wow, this is great. I could do this forever. I could retire here. And then I think maybe it was in DC when I would travel up on a train and fill in from time to time on Weekend Today and MSNBC. Then I was like, okay, whoa, huh, maybe it is feasible. So
wow,
yeah, so I don't.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does, and it's so crazy because we having our paths at a similar place at that time because we met in
Yeah.
DC. So it's interesting to hear, yeah, your perspective on that. Real quick, like back to the part about the show and the stuff that no one tells you about after. That's one thing that I observe from afar with you that I have started to share when people are like, "What's it like?" And I'm like, It's the thing that's so impressive about it, but also I think you're right. It's like people just don't realize is I would venture that the hours when the show is on
Those
might
those are the easiest hours.
right
are the
because you
easiest hours.
prepped for it.
Right.
Also because of people like I'm always blown away by the amount of producers and prep, and each segment has their own person. So you are like fully to a T educated on what you are
Yeah.
supposed to be doing
Yes.
to react well in that moment.
And that's assuming that there's nothing crazy that's happened overnight, that there's no breaking news, that there isn't some sort of bombing or mass shooting or. But yeah, like it's. I think yesterday it was. It's Benicio del Toro, and you're interviewing him for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're doing a Shop Today segment, and the expectation is you are just as prepared for your 5 minute interview with Benicio del Toro on his new Wes Anderson movie as you are on that Shop Today segment, that you would be for that cooking segment with Bobby Flay, and all of these producers who are coming at you the day before. It's there's a rhythm that you have to get used to that you don't fully appreciate until you get the job. Because before January, yeah, I'd do a segment here, a segment there,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like, it's also it's kind of hard to explain to people because people who watch the show, I think, who've been watching for 73, 74 years, and like I think part of the magic is making it look easy. And the shit's not easy. And you don't realize it.
What part of the shit isn't easy?
You don't want to, you don't, in this day and age especially, if you screw up something small, it goes viral. Or if you say something that's factually inaccurate, or if you just generally make an ass of yourself, you're walking a tightrope every day. And so I didn't fully appreciate that until I got the job. And so now I'm learning it. Now you over prepare, and you have to do a really good job of keeping your blinders on in the morning and drowning out the noise.
So how do you do that?
How
How do you protect your peace?
In the car, in the car on the ride in, I listen to a lot of gospel music. I meditate. And I start my trip with, it's about 55 minutes into the city. I kind of start my trip with that. And then when I have about 45 minutes left, I pivot to just prep. And then I hop on the phone with the control room or the newsroom at that point. I haven't moved into the control room. But then I hop on the phone and we'll talk through a segment or if we want to change something or, there was what was it? Again, part of it also is that it's a blur. There was one morning where someone had an idea. Oh, that was it. Going back to Benicio del Toro. Someone was like, they had a 7.5 minute standing ovation at Cannes. It would be nice if we could simulate that on the show. And so I was like, yeah, we should have the control room stand and clap, the plaza stand and clap, people in the studio like stand and clap. And Pete Breen, he was like, we can't do 7.5 minutes. I was like, I know, but what if we did it for like 20 minutes, 20 seconds? And then we would, and so it turned into a moment. And then this morning we had, oh gosh, this is sad.
7.5 minute ovation
At Cannes.
at Cannes
Oh yeah.
because it was that good.
What's a Wes Anderson movie? I mean, you had Bryan Cranston, you had Tom Hanks, you had Scarlett Johansson, you had Benicio del Toro, you had Michael Cera, you had so I mean, you had a stacked cast, and it was quite the, it's quite the film. So, but the question out of it was, what do you do for 7.5 minutes? And his response was, after like 30 seconds, you start clapping with everyone because you feel so awkward. But then you go from that to like, today, I think it was today, Robert De Niro was on talking about Tribeca with Jane Rosenthal. And I've interviewed De Niro a number of times. It's never easy because he's one of these guys. Robert De Niro's 81 years old. He's got a catalog of films and some TV shows, but mainly films that span, generations. He's been interviewed a lot.
Right.
So you can't ask him a question he hasn't been asked. And so part of the fun for me is trying to come up with that one thing that he's never been asked, or come up with that one moment that he's never experienced. And I love Meet the Parents. And you got Robert De Niro talking about milking like cat tits and milking himself. And so I'm like, of all the memorable lines you've delivered, Mr. De Niro, did you ever think that you milking a cat would be like one of your most memorable? And so that becomes the challenge. The greatest challenge is to overcome the sameness that consumes us. And I enjoy the challenge.
It kind of lights you up. Like it's like the connection that it's a connection too. It's the moment. I've never heard you talk about that. Like you're trying to find the moment. You're right. Like it's like sports. Everyone says you understand the moment. The moment's a big concept.
But you know this. I mean, you've interviewed, thousands of people over the years. Like there comes a point where you've interviewed someone dozens of times.
Right.
And so like the challenge is trying to get something out of them that they haven't shared before, or to get them to show a side of themselves that they haven't shown. And that's hard.
Right. You have to be prepared, but you also have to listen, right? Like you have to it's listening and it's connecting at that moment.
Yeah.
And
it's like marriage. 90% of what makes our marriage spectacular is I spend so much time listening.
As do I. So then who's talking?
Let your listeners and viewers decide for themselves.
The reality here, though, is you do, I think at some point, do you think you're always going to feel it necessary to watch everything that your guests are in? Because that's a lot. If you're watching every, movie, an episode, that's...
Some of them are really bad.
You didn't even like interviewing actors before. You said that you would ask, but...
I still, no, but I'm being serious.
Why?
I don't like celebrity interviews because most of them have been interviewed
so many times.
Yeah. And if there's something controversial, they've got a team of people around them who have coached them on how not to answer a question. And so no, celebrity interviews aren't my favorite. I enjoy interviewing people who have just ordinary people. and I hate to use that adjective, but
Everyday,
just
like
regular
everyday
people,
folks. Yeah.
famous, whatever that means now. But those people who've overcome something extraordinary or done something extraordinary, I like catching that person the day after they've had the best day of their life, and
Yeah.
they didn't see it coming. That lights me up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't enjoy like A-list movie stars and spending
Yeah.
time with them. I'm not saying that, but I would rather have the other end of the spectrum, if that makes sense.
The unexpected,
Yeah.
the relatable. So wait, so that's the thing no one tells you professionally.
No one also, I would also add to that. I don't know how much time we have for this podcast. I don't know how
Take your time.
no one also tells you the sheer sacrifice that is required to make it. I use air quotes deliberately. I think that a lot of people don't understand how hard you have to work, how much you have to be willing to give up, how much you have to second guess yourself and your decisions and feel like an imposter, how much you have to experience all of that to eventually make it. And even when you make it, whatever that means, if you're doing it right, you still don't feel comfortable. You still feel like you constantly have something to prove professionally. And I think it's a
Why?
good thing.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because you're trying not to fail and you obviously don't want to get fired from the thing that you've gotten to? Or do you think it's also a piece of human nature? You get there and then, well, what else is there? What do you think?
You climb a mountain, you get to the apex, and you look around, and you're like, "Wow, this view's amazing. What do I do now? Do I stay at the top of the mountain? Do I climb down? Do I go back the other way I came up?" Like you don't, but no one tells you that. It's like you gotta. It's like climb the mountain, climb the mountain, climb the mountain. You get to the top, and you're like, "Oh wow, this is pretty amazing." And then you're like, "Okay, well, do I go to another mountain? Like, what do you do?" And so then the challenge becomes staying at the top of the mountain. And no one tells you that. No one tells you that you can work towards something your entire professional career. You get it, you achieve it, and then all of a sudden the obsession becomes keeping it and not being the person, with your name on the door when the show goes sideways or the ratings tank or whatever. Like it's funny because my good friend and my therapist Charlie and I we talk about this. It's hard for people to understand struggles when they've never experienced the kind of struggle. And you also can't like people are gonna watch this and hear this and like Craig Melvin's complaining. He's got it pretty good. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got amazing kids. He's got all these wonderful the trappings of life. And he's like, I'm not complaining. All I'm saying is that there's just a lot of stuff that people don't tell you about keeping all of those things and maintaining all of those things and juggling all of those things.
I think that
I think you could charge me for a therapy session after this. She got me with the champagne. That's how she softened me up.
so. The thing about the thing that no one tells you is what you just said. I want to go back to you for a second because I really, really do think everyone has a different experience. Everyone has a different journey. But from my perspective, I understand why you would say, oh, people aren't going to think Craig Melvin. How could you possibly, have a struggle within the thing, whatever. But you're the only one that's had that struggle. Certainly others can relate to it in some level. There are still things you experience along the way that people will experience in a different scenario, a different way.
Sure.
So I just really do think there is so much power in even you sharing what you think those things are, because at the end of the day, sacrifice and, understanding that you might not see the full picture until you get there. And wow, that's hard. That's something that people can relate to. And it doesn't matter what their circumstances.
I agree with you.
Like sacrifice. We talked to, Brian Hernandez, the jockey who won the Kentucky Derby, and his wife said that his son, when they were talking about can we win it again, and he's like, Dad, don't go for it again because that means you're not going to be here. You weren't here at all that whole year after, right? So it's like, from perspective and sacrifice, and he talks so much about just the crazy sacrifice because he has gone from December until March if he's lucky, and then probably a lot after that. But you know what I mean? Like,
I do. I do know what you mean, but it's, I don't. It's funny because you start to talk to other people who've sacrificed a lot. Shaq was on the show last week, and he's got a great documentary out on Netflix. And he sat his son down and basically sort of tried to explain to him what it would take to be a professional basketball player. And if you watch the scene, you're like, it sounds like he's probably trying to talk him out of it. And sometimes I think about our kids and whether, and I think Delano especially has demonstrated an interest to a certain extent in what we do, whatever that looks like 10, 12 years, 20 years from now. And I don't know if I would encourage them to get into the family business. Because for you, it was weekends. You miss a lot of weekends when you're covering sports. For me, it's elections, it's Olympics, it's mass shootings, it's whatever unexpected call in the middle of the night. It's not being able to be present after 8 p.m. because I've got to watch a show or series or read something.
I mean, if it's a good series, that's fun for us.
Yeah, but the reality is most of them aren't. And that's something else no one tells you. Like, I watch a lot of crap.
And I'm proud of you for that because.
But again, no one tells you that. Like every actor or actress or musician you interview, album's not going to be great. Show's not going to be wonderful. The film's not going to be an Oscar winner. But you have to watch it so that, and you also, for me at least, it's always been important that whoever I'm sitting across from, that they know I'm taking the assignment seriously.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of the day, it is really all about the relationships and the people. I think, so what's the part about the managing? What have you learned in these few months about, like, I don't want to say managing people because it's not like they're working for you. It's also your colleagues. It's also us. It's also like all the things around you. Like, what have you learned about how to do that or what you need to be doing,
Keep the circle tight. You know this, a lot of the people that I deal with now, I've dealt with for 20 plus years. Part of it is as I get older, I'm even more of a creature of habit. But I don't deal with a lot of people that I don't know, that I don't trust. And if I'm dealing with them, I'll ask people that I do know and trust about them. I don't deal with unknown quantities. And it's funny because at some point I guess I developed that reputation because people now have said that to me. Like people, like, I know you don't like to talk about it. I'm like, that's not what it's about. I just don't know them. I deal with people that I trust. I deal with people who've proven themselves. I've never taken wild, uncalculated risks. I'm risk averse, admittedly. I think it served me well professionally.
I think it's
and
funny
personally.
with us because we're very opposite.
We are. We are. I mean, look at the wallpaper in here.
But it's great, right? And you played along because this is the beautiful complementary color of blue and orange.
This was the shirt I was supposed to wear.
No, I did not. What are you? That is a blatant lie. I did not.
I came in. I said, "Is this shirt okay?"
I said it was great.
You said, this shirt complements the wall, and I knew that was code for don't change your shirt. Sit down.
Well, you had already come in, like in that, but it matches your candle.
Thank you.
That's a
lesson. It's funny because. And I've had other people say this to me. And I by the way, I take it as a high compliment. People who've known me for 30 years, they'll say to me, it's like, you seem to be the kind of the same guy you were in high school. You seem to be. And sometimes I think they're saying it disparagingly. I wear it as a badge of honor. Like,
I think that's great.
I think so. I think so. In some ways, it's probably not. But no, I'm like this. I'm the same guy because I don't know. I think that people can sometimes veer off track when first of all, when they pretend to be someone that they're not. They're not comfortable in their own skin. They surround themselves with people who are leeches. Like, I've said this to you before. I will say, the older I get, the more I'm convinced that people are just trying to take money. Like I just think everybody's just trying to. I do. I think everyone's just trying to, when you upcharges, I now sound like an old guy on the porch. You can edit this part out, but I do feel like there are a lot of people that are looking for a quick buck, and I don't deal with those people. So edit that out if you want, but that's how I feel. A lot of scoundrels out there.
It also is interesting because the way that our industry is evolving, can I share that you have Tom Brokaw's couch in your office?
I guess you can since you just
I
said
think
it.
it's the coolest thing. You have Tom Brokaw's couch from back in the day when you watched the show when he was the anchor. It is, when you think about the way that television is continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about the things that no one tells you, it's like it's this constant conveyor belt of, just having to understand how to evolve. And also, like you mentioned, the social media factor, like that's intense. Like it was very different back in the day, I'm sure.
We didn't do it.
And to go out there on the plaza, when you guys go on the plaza, or like you didn't have that.
No.
People now trying to take, I mean, like I know how much you love to take selfies, and it's just
one of my favorite things of all times. Love a good selfie.
Okay, so the candle business. This is
I think it should be at full disclosure. That's the only reason I agreed to do the podcast, not because you're my wife and the love of my life, but you promised that I would be able to promote my new hobby.
So I didn't know, though. What I said is I didn't know what you were going to say, the things that no one tells you is. So I wasn't sure which direction you were going to start in. But so my thought was that we were probably going to talk about the importance or the desire for a side business, a side thing. But
it's not really a side thing. It's not a hustle. I just
no, I didn't say hustle.
I know, but I started. It's about a year and a half now, more than a year and a half. Anyway, I got into candle making. I needed to develop a hobby with my hands that didn't include bourbon or golf.
And specifically with your hands?
Yeah,
like
making something, creating something. I do enjoy creating, and I've always loved a good candle. And I was talking to my therapist, and he was like, you can make candles. And I was like, we think I'm some sort of Luddite? And then I got some books and watched some YouTube videos, and now I spend a fair amount of time in the garage, like mixing and matching fragrances and playing with different waxes and wicks and vessels. I like the vessel that you picked.
I love this vessel.
But
we can't do this vessel because you said it's too expensive.
It's a nice. The texture is beautiful on it.
I like the texture. This is a very
It's not cheap.
This is a what do you call it? Anthropology type, or like a terrain, which is one of our favorite stores.
I think it took me a while to fully appreciate why I enjoyed the candle making process so much. And the process itself, like the melting of the wax and the adding the fragrance and the stirring and the setting the wick and all of that's cathartic. And then the more I did it, the more I realized it was also about when you have that finished product and you smell whatever fragrance you've mixed. Most fragrances, most scents, they remind you of something. Sometimes they remind you of someone or some place or something or some event. They evoke memories. And I enjoy that. I enjoy like that candle right now that you're burning. That smells like an office. It smells like one that I burned downstairs in my office, which is not nearly as fancy. But there's some leather in that. It's more of a masculine scent.
I said tobacco and bourbon, but it is masculine.
There's no tobacco in there.
Okay, well, so I hate the word passion project, and so I was actually grateful.
Why? But why do you hate it?
I'm grateful that you said you didn't want to call this a side hobby, and I don't know if you mean it because of the reason I don't like passion project. You know why? Because right or wrong, I think passion project has a hint of it's a passion project. Oh, it's someone's side thing that they just love, and they because passion projects can be perfect. They can describe what they are, but I think if someone is really hopeful about doing something and sees and it's more than just a passion project. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. Because I think that for me, this is a passion project. Like it's a It's something I've become passionate about, and it's a project. So,
Okay.
but I hear what you're saying. I think sometimes, yes, when people they use it, and it can sound dismissive, as if it's not something that someone is serious about. Like it's, oh, that's their little thing that they do on the side.
Are you a start with yes or a start with no?
I start with no. I used to start with yes, and then I realized a while ago that no is far more powerful. I can't control a lot of my life anymore, but I can control a lot of my free time.
Mhm.
And so if I'm doing something outside of my assigned hours of employment, it's got to be something that I'm passionate about. It's got to be something with my family, like in the end. And so I think, and you and I've had this conversation. Sometimes the friction that we have on the weekends is my favorite hobby is doing nothing. Like I don't need to be out hanging out with people I don't really enjoy, or having conversations with people I don't really enjoy talking to. I would much rather, be out back by the pool, or maybe even taking Miles for a walk. Like I want to get better at golf. I bought new clubs. I enjoy doing nothing, and you enjoy frequently doing
So it's
something.
socialization.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, to be fair, I think and you've said this many times. If left to my own devices, I would probably have no friends, and
You?
we would have no friends. Because, well, you talk about the importance of cultivating
Well,
relationships.
because if you say no,
Yeah,
and if multiple times, then people are going to
stop asking.
asking.
That's exactly why I say no.
But you can't do that if you want to have friends and you want to.
I've got
So
friends.
yes, a lot of what we talk about is how do you
Balance
split the difference, balance, because you've got to you've got to find a middle ground and
I don't have
compromise.
to split the balance,
Well,
because you say yes so much
that's not true.
that
Are you kidding?
I can
But
provide.
then you just don't go.
Well, I go a lot of 50% of the times I do go. I don't want to go. But I go because I'm married to you, and I love you, and you like to go, and you think friendships are paramount. And I get, and some of them are, some of them aren't really. Some people, but but I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is I appreciate the yin and yang,
Yeah.
and because I really only like hanging out with about 8 people.
Back to the candles. So you started experimenting,
Yeah.
and then what? Because from there, and from my perspective, it only grew. Like your
So
real desire to do it.
So part of what has always defined me, I think, is I don't like to half-ass anything. And so if I do something, I go all in. And so I went all in on these candles, and I really started to enjoy it. And I thought, gosh, well, I can't just give all these candles away to friends, because there comes a point where your friends are like, dude, you just gave me 3 last week. Like I can't burn them this fast. And so I was like, well, maybe I can, figure out a way to generate some money for charity. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that part of it now. And but I enjoy it. And I also think candles, this is gonna sound cheesy and hokey, I know, but I think candles are one of those few things that bring a lot of people just joy, just the sight and
Just like
smell. And
serenity.
yeah, it's you see a candle burning, it kind of brings you down. It's like rubbing a dog's belly, you know? And I like that. And I've really enjoyed trying to create fragrances that are unique, that also, for me personally, conjure up certain memories. So yeah, it's a weird hobby. I know people sometimes
I like it.
they look at me with 3 eyes. They're like, "Really, the Today Show guy's making candles? Wow, that's pretty sad."
No, it's great.
Well, you're my wife. You have to
Your
see
space is great. So if you could recreate one fragrance that brought back nostalgia of something, what would it be?
that. Well, I've already done it. The Betty Joe. You know the Betty Joe candle.
Yeah, but what exactly? It smells like your
It's
mom.
named, yeah, it's named after my mother. I'll break some news for you here on the podcast. If and when we launch a line of candles, it'll be in the first batch of fragrances, because it reminds me of the pound cake that she used to make when we were kids. And for a while, to help make ends meet, mom, she baked cakes on the side. So I can still see the bunt pan that she used to use. And so yeah, she used to make a lot of pound cakes. And so it smells like pound cake she used to make.
Oh, did you intentionally set out to make it smell like a pound cake?
No, that's a good question. No, I saw a fragrance bottle, and it said pound cake, and I was like, I wonder if this smells like mom's pound cake. And I took that bottle, I added some other stuff, and played around with the recipe, and then after a while, I was like, it's pretty doggone close. Um, so no, I didn't set out for that. Um, but to be clear, there's a fragrance that you liked. It's the first one that you were like, oh, that's really good. I'm working on tweaking that one. All of the fragrances have to mean something to me. And the older I get, the more I firmly believe that the things and people that you surround yourself should mean something. And whether it's a candle or whether it's a piece of art or a vacation or what, like things like it should matter. Like you just don't know when all of this ends abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That,
Is there anything that you have discovered on your candle making journey that you think is worthy of sharing that could be helpful for other people?
I think it is. I think it's good for everyone to have a hobby that's weird. That's
I love that.
I think everyone should do something that doesn't fit who people think they are. I don't know. It's for me. It was like I didn't grow up making. Like I didn't know anything about this until like 2 years ago. I think everyone. And what's funny is since I've gotten into candle making, you start talking to other people and they share some of their weird hobbies, and you're like, wow, I would have never, huh, D Wade, I would have never guessed that you were a wine connoisseur and you like to spend time in fields picking grapes and or like you start talking to or Shaq, wow, you really do enjoy DJing. Like you
Mm-hmm.
spend hours like on the ones and twos.
It fills you up.
Yeah,
Right?
or you start talking to actors who, like we had Seth Rogen on. He's got a fantastic show on Apple, and he's talking about like this
Pottery?
right,
Right.
and
I've heard about his pottery obsession.
so you start realizing that a lot of people who we have deemed successful, who've achieved, professionally, reasonable modicums of success, they have things on the side that I'm fairly certain now make them better at what they do primarily. Does that make sense?
It does, because that's part of why I go to my improv class.
I know.
And I'm not, but the thing about that and what you just
And it's
said,
made you so much funnier too.
I'm not good at it. Like,
That's not true.
no, what last class, we were paired up with a buddy, and then we had to be an inanimate object, and they told us what we were, and guess what I was? We were two sausage links. And we had to act out two sausage links. And I love the fact that I am not funny when I'm at that class. Like, it's a struggle. I leave that
This is the first time hearing of it.
I leave that class.
Did you pick sausage? Or they assigned sausage?
No, they assigned them. We were sausage. Someone was two ties, someone was two French fries in the bottom of the bag, and me and my friend were two sausage links.
What
and
what kind of sausage? Like,
we had to create the
like
scene.
breakfast sausage?
Well, we were, in my mind, we were two like butterball kielbasis, but we were links in the same package. So she was on her back, I was on my stomach, and we had to act out. And that's part of the thing. You have to act out how you're related, what your circumstance was. And it was the most bizarre, made no sense, but it was like so much fun. And I left there being like, that was not something that I would ever say, oh, that was good. You were a good sausage. But
Sweetie, you were. I know you were a good sausage.
Well, you're flexing muscles. Done. 3 things that no one knows about you. This is how we end.
I don't think I knew that. 3 things that you don't know about me?
3 things no one knows about you.
Sweetie, I think if I told people 3 things you didn't know about me, that'd be a little weird. Shouldn't you?
Right, well, they can be things that I know.
Okay, 3 things that most people don't know about me. I wash my hair twice a week. Is that weird?
Oh, well, you don't have much of it. Is that why? Or
Yeah.
is it only twice?
Just
like OCD twice?
OCD
Never
twice.
more.
Never more. Never.
Specific days of the week?
It depends on the day I get my hair cut.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it better a few days unwashed?
I think so. That was a weird thing to share. So that's one thing people don't know about me. It's the second thing people don't know about me. I check my bank account multiple times every day. No, but just to make sure I haven't been scammed, because we do so many stories about scams and fraud that you asked about things that people don't know about me.
I know. No, I actually value that. That's very nice.
The third thing that people don't know about me is I cry by myself probably a couple times every week about random things.
Oh no! Where?
In the car usually, so no one can see me.
Like on the way home from the city, or on the way into the city?
Usually on the way in, but not like.
Like what kinds of things do you cry about?
Well, I mean, this is going to get dark real fast, and a lot of it's about death and people. Or a song might move me, or a memory I'll have a memory of a grandparent, or it's just but not this. God, people are just really going to think that Craig Melvin's a whack job. I find it to be again quite cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't usually cry in the house. I keep my crying outside the house. Sometimes I cry.
What's the last thing that made you cry?
Gee, what kind of podcast is this? The last thing that made me cry? A mutual friend, a mutual friend of ours died. And there was a song that was played at his funeral that was on my playlist. And we were at the funeral on Friday, and then on Monday when I was on the car ride in, the song just popped up. Like it was just the natural next song. And so I cried then. I'm sure I've cried since then too. All right.
Cheers.
This is nice. Thank you. This wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
Thanks. I'm excited to have you back.
One thing I appreciate about Melvin is he always comes to play, right? He's just, that is something that I take for granted, is his jovial, happy personality. Here's what though, when he's talking about, first of all, the candle hobby, I really am proud of him because he has approached this in a very methodical, thoughtful way. And I have no doubt that this is going to become something that he's just very excited about and that I think other people will enjoy too. But when he talked about the pressures of the job and also the movies, literally, y'all, he is watching every single movie that he has an actor on that he's got to interview. And I suddenly do feel sort of like, how people talk about their kids and screen time. Of course, it's so important to limit that. I almost think I'm about to have to do that with my husband. And I would not do that, so it impacted his job. But we had a conversation because I was like, I understand completely that you need to watch all of these, for context for the interview. But man, that's a lot of hours of TV watching. Anyway, that is one of the new normals that we are navigating through. And it certainly is good when it's something that we like to watch together or something that he can watch with the family too. But just something that was unexpected that is an interesting sidebar to the job. But anyway, thank you, Melvin, for joining. And for those of you, I would love to hear what you loved about this episode. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. Don't forget to follow us at Naughty Things No One Tells You and subscribe. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Lindsay, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Please don't forget, follow and subscribe to Things No One Tells You. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a 5-star review because that's really what helps people get more listeners. We would love to grow this community. We are so grateful that you're a part of it. See you next time.